You've done everything right. You've built, you've grown, you've stayed 3 steps ahead. But beneath the calendar blocks, the upgraded routines, the silent pressure to hold it all together, there's a quiet question forming. Why does it still feel like I'm chasing? You wake up early, you optimize, you push, and yet a deeper part of you is tired. Not just physically, existentially. Because no matter how well you perform, there's still an invisible ceiling. And you can't quite figure out what you're pushing against. The world tells you to double down. More hustle, more habits, more control. But what if you're doing too much? Not in terms of action, but in conscious interference. Because the truth is, the more you try to control every outcome, the more you disrupt the quantum process that actually creates the outcomes. It's not a mindset problem, it's a field misalignment. You've mistaken effort for power, control for creation, striving for signal. And that's the burnout loop no one talks about. Let's talk about the observer effect. In quantum physics, the observer effect tells us particles exist in multiple potentials until they're observed, and when observed, they collapse into one state. But here's the nuance: the quality of the observer, their intention, coherence, and energetic state shapes the outcome. In a 1998 study published in Physics Essays, researchers found that focused human attention could measurably affect the behavior of photons, light particles, not by force, but by presence. And in neuroscience, research on flow states confirms this. When you're in deep flow, the prefrontal cortex, your self-monitoring, overthinking brain, goes offline. You enter a state of transient hypofrontality, and everything becomes effortless. Time dilates, actions become fluid. You stop thinking and start transmitting. So what's the takeaway? More effort doesn't equal more result. More resonance does. But here's the real block. Most achievers are trying to create the next chapter with the identity of the last one. You're trying to quantum leap while staying emotionally loyal to the person who survived the last climb. That's why things aren't landing. Because the field isn't responding to your goals. It's responding to your identity signal. And if that signal is still coded in fear and proving in micro-control, you'll keep collapsing the same limited timeline. The invitation is simple and radical. Stop chasing outcomes. Shift your state. This means stepping out of performance mode and entering resonance mode. Here's how. 1. Use the observer's pause instead of reacting or planning. Practice noticing. Close your eyes. Feel the breath. Let the self-monitoring soften. This opens the doorway into flow. Remember, what you observe, you influence. So observe from presence, not pressure. 2. Prime the field, not the calendar. Before you take action, tune your field. A 2015 Harvard study showed that people who visualized success from an embodied emotional state experienced higher clarity, lower cortisol, and increased likelihood of follow-through. Not from thinking, from feeling it first. So breathe into the version of you who already feels safe, capable, and resourced. Act from there. 3. Exit the mental gridlock. When you overanalyze, you close the field. When you trust the signal, it expands. Let stillness be your strategy. Let coherence lead the decision. Because aligned action is not less powerful. It's exponentially more efficient. You'll know the shift has happened when success stops feeling like a scramble and starts feeling like sync. Conversations flow. You say less, and more happens. You release the how, and life fills in the details. You don't get less done. You get more done with less friction. And it won't be because you worked harder. It will be because you stopped resisting your natural signal. This is what quantum alignment feels like, not a hustle, a harmonic. So here's the medicine. You were never meant to perform your way into the next level. You were meant to tune into it. You don't need to force what's aligned. You only need to stop being the version who's afraid to receive it without suffering. Let go of the noise, drop the performance, return to signal, because when you shift your state, your outcomes follow. You're doing too much. You're trying too hard. It's time to let resonance do what striving never could.